Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast for those of you who are listening to this episode on my podcast. I'm Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and I am here today to bring you your April horoscopes. Now, before we start talking astrology, I have a few things that I would like to mention. The first one is that you can also listen to this episode in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and on Spotify in audio version only. All you have to do is type in Written in the Stars by Rux, the podcast, and voila, there you have it. Your April horoscope without the screen, just with your headphones on. Secondly, as I've mentioned before, I'm a Western tropical astrologer. And very importantly, because I know you guys are interested in this, I use the whole sign house system. Thirdly, for those of you who want to work with me on personalized readings, on one-to-one consultations, you can find the various types of readings and consultations that I offer on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. Last but not least, you can find timestamps in the description box all the time. I know some of you can't see them straight away because a lot of you are going to be watching this video on mobile or listening to it on mobile. If you are watching this on YouTube, all you have to do is click on I think there's an arrow right underneath the video, and it loads the description, and you're going to have the timestamps for your particular sign. And also, if you're not following me on Instagram, you can find me at Rux Unbelievable in one word, and I have a lot of updates for you on my Instagram, both astrology updates, and also if you're just curious to see what I get up to every now and then, you can find it all there on my Instagram. So let's dive into April. Oh my gosh, I am actually excited for April because finally, we got ourselves a lot of fire. I mean, I know the latter part of March was also very fiery, but I'm equally excited for the first half of March. For the first half of April. It's still obviously March when I'm filming this. I'm excited for the first half of April because we are going to continue to have a lot of energy, a lot of fiery drive to get things going, to get moving, to do things, to get out of the house, to initiate new projects. And I feel like we can all use this proverbial revival, let's say. So let's go through the major transits of the month. Transits and ingresses. So in the first 18 days of the month, the sun is going to be transiting through Aries. And then on the 19th of April, it moves into Taurus. It's going to be into Taurus until the end of April. And we're going to talk about when it switches signs to Gemini, obviously, in your May horoscope. We are going to have some very interesting aspects along the way. In particular, I'm very excited for the 15th of April when the sun is going to be sextiling Jupiter exactly. A very lucky day, but a day after, we're going to have the sun exactly square Pluto, and it does look like these two are going hand in hand. We have a new moon on the 12th of April in Aries at 22 degrees and 24 minutes of Aries, and a full moon on the 27th of April in Scorpio at 7 degrees 5 minutes of Scorpio. Mercury is being super fast and efficient this month. The messenger god literally sprints. I was looking for the right word. Mercury is literally sprinting through Aries. So Mercury moves into Aries on the 4th of April, and it's spending there roughly 2 weeks until the 19th of April when it switches signs and it goes into Taurus. So super fast. And on the 14th of April, Venus moves into Taurus as well. But up until that point, obviously, it's still transiting through Aries. On the 23rd of April, this is a big one, we have Mars switching signs from Gemini to Cancer. And these are probably the most important celestial events in the month of April. We also have on the 27th of April, Pluto going retrograde, but Pluto spends roughly 5 months every year going in retrograde, so it's going to be in retrograde motion until I think it's the first week of October, if I'm not mistaken, the 6th of October, off the top of my head. So now let's dive into the monthly update for each of the 12 zodiac signs. Don't forget, please, please, please find out what your rising sign is, folks, and listen to your rising sign horoscope more than anything. You can also listen to your sun sign update. And I know some of you folks identify tremendously with your moon sign, but if you listen to one sign only, listen to your rising sign, because the rising sign is how you enter the world. It is how you approach the world. It is literally where your chart begins. That's why you may find that your rising sign update is a lot more accurate and a lot more telling for what is going on in your life. Now let's jump to the one, the only, Aries, of course. Aries suns and Aries risings. Welcome to your April horoscope. What is going on? What's cooking? Well, you are still the stars of the zodiac until the sun switches signs. It's still your birthday season until the 19th of April, when the sun is going from Aries into Taurus. Now, I really like the first 2 weeks of April for you. Why? You probably want to hear why. The sun is going to be more or less conjunct Venus in Aries, in your first house. And it's also going to sextile Mars in Gemini in your third house. Obviously, this aspect is going to be with an orb, so it's not going to be exact throughout the entire period. But let me tell you this. Sun conjunct Venus in your first house, not only does it give you a great deal of energy, and not only does it make you super keen for new beginnings, not only does it make you super keen to start moving your body, to go out into the world, to connect with people, to meet with people. It might also make you very, very excited, let's say, about changing things about your looks, about your appearance. It's actually a really good idea in general when we have Venus in our first house of the self, of identity, of the physical body. It's a good idea to revamp our looks, maybe to buy something nice that makes us feel confident. You may feel like everyone's watching you and everyone's paying attention to what you're doing in the first 2 weeks of April, and actually you're not minding it at all, because everyone's there to give you a big round of applause. And you also seem to be feeling very loved and appreciated if you are in a partnership, because Venus rules your 7th house of marriage and partnerships. And with the sun conjunct Venus, I have to say, you are feeling a little bit spoiled. It's like, not only are you getting a lot of attention and a lot of positive, let's say, romantic attention, it's something that you're getting a lot more than you are generally getting, my dear Aries. Now, since the sun conjunct Venus is going to be in a beautiful aspect to Mars in your third house, and Mars is your ruler, the first 2 weeks of April are absolutely fantastic for a few particular types of activities, Aries, and especially Aries risings. If you are selling anything, your deals are probably going to go through the roof. It's a fantastic time to increase sales. It's also a great time to promote whatever services you are offering. It is also a fantastic time for networking, to reach out to clients, to reach out to potential clients, to present any sort of like services that you are offering, any services that you are promoting. It's a fantastic time to run advertising campaigns, marketing campaigns, promotional campaigns if you're working in that kind of industry. If your work, or generally what you do on a day-to-day basis, involves a lot of communications, a lot of networking, well, your mind is going to be on fire and you may feel incredibly productive in that arena. If you need to write things like essays or prepare presentations, once again, your mind is on fire, you're feeling very inspired, and you might be feeling like you're even more persuasive than you generally are. It's also a great time, the first couple of weeks of April, to buy a new car, to upgrade your transportation vehicle, since Venus is really supporting you in finding something that you like, and also something that's probably in really good shape. Now, what I also like from the 7th until the 16th of April is that this beautiful combination between the sun conjunct Venus in your first house Sextiling Mars in Gemini in your third house of siblings, communication, and transportation is also very nicely aspecting Jupiter in Aquarius in your 11th house. So not only are you feeling excited about where your life is headed, you're probably also keen on making plans for the future. You're keen to get back together with people. It's a very active time from a social perspective. And even if, let's say, depending on where you're at in the world, you're not already getting back together with friends, you are possibly making plans to get back together with them. You're feeling much more excited about what your prospects of socialization are. And there's also a possibility that in the first 2 weeks of April, you are very involved in group type of learning activities and maybe getting back together with colleagues, exchanging ideas. It's a very positive, optimistic, and at the same time, very intellectual energy that you are dealing with in the first 2 weeks of April, lovely Aries. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th of April, Mercury is also cruising through Aries in your first house, making you incredibly chatty and talkative and eager to use your words to get what it is that you want from the world around you. Now, Mercury rules your 3rd house and your 6th house, so you're probably going to be doing a lot of networking and a lot of talking and communicating and sending maybe emails, setting up conferences, setting up calls with potential clients, because all of this intellectual energy does seem to be very strongly connected from the 4th until the 19th to the work that you are doing. There might be Aries out there who are doing recruitment for their teams work-wise, and it seems to be going really well. Once again, with that Venus in the 1st house, I'm like, the right people seem to be making their way to you, and you're liking what you're hearing if you're doing any sort of recruitment. On the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 1st house of identity, conjunct Mercury and Venus, sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 11th house, and Mars in Gemini in the 3rd house. So all of the energy that I've been mentioning in the first part of the update for you, you could say that it is culminating in a way around the 12th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. This is a big breakthrough on a personal level. Why do I say that? Essentially because you seem to be very excited about a new path that is opening up in front of you, Aries. When it comes to studying, when it comes to a group of people that you are a part of, when it comes to a community that you feel like you belong to, there is a possibility at this time that you may be organizing some sort of like big event, big conference, and getting together a lot of people, or preparing to attend. It can be online. It doesn't have to be in person. I know, don't jump at my throat. But you seem to be very excited to connect with like-minded individuals at this time who seem to be inspiring you, because it's a new moon, therefore new beginning, to develop yourself further. So you're catching up with inspirational people who are motivating you to maybe learn something new, study something new, think about your future in a new light. And it feels like you truly belong to this community of people, Aries. So a very exciting new beginning in the area of self-development. Now, what I don't really like about this is that you may be inclined to, let's say, focus on the positive aspects, or let's say, see with rosy-colored glasses this entire process of, let's say, self-discovery and self-development, and also see with rosy-colored glasses purely the group that you feel like you're a part of, and you may feel inclined to suppress certain parts of yourself in order to make yourself fit in better, which I strongly do not recommend, because the truth is very powerful, and if whatever we suppress of ourselves is going to turn into our shadow, and our shadow directs us from the background, and it gets yucky in time. The demons that we try to lock in the closet, they do come to bite us off the back in a way. So I would be very careful for you, let's say, not to be overly optimistic about this entire process that you're going into, and make sure that you don't like sweep under the rug any parts that you're not comfortable with, especially on a psychological level, my dear Aries. There seems to be also something that might be bothering you around this time in relation to the mother. Maybe the mother's not feeling very well. Maybe you hear some news related to I don't know, the state of her job, the state of her career. So it could be raining a little bit on your parade. Just for you to be prepared, just for you to know, Aries. Now, from the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus is moving through Taurus in your second house of income. Okay, this is generally resulting in either an increase in income, an increase in salary, or you just being a lot more prone to treating yourself, Aries. And you probably deserve it, because Venus is not going to come through this part of your chart for a long time, for almost a year. So you may be in the mood to spend. Now, on the 19th of April, Mercury and the Sun also move into your second house of income. So money's going to be on your mind quite a lot until the end of the month. You might be assessing your finances. You may be thinking about how you can monetize new talents, monetize your skills even further. And it's a process that you are going through until at least the end of the month of consolidating a feeling of self-worth and really looking at where in the past 6 months at least you have been putting your energy and time and resources, and whether there are, let's say, better ways for you to channel your inner talents. Now, from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, is that right? Is it until the 11th of June? Yes, that's correct. Oh, gosh. I need to triple check my notes. From the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Mars is going to be transiting through Cancer in your fourth house of home, family, roots, and the past. So Mars is where we put our energy. Mars brings a lot of stamina and a lot of drive and a lot of motivation and ambition through whichever part of our life it transits. However, the Martian energy, if not used constructively, can also result into anger and conflict. So you may be putting a lot of physical energy and working towards updating things in your home environment, maybe moving homes between the 23rd of April and the 11th of June, maybe switching up, I don't know, the whole kind of like furniture setup. Maybe there is a parent who needs you to be more present in their life. Maybe you are thinking of spending more time at home with them. I have to say, as social as you are in the first part of the month, from the 23rd onwards, you may feel like your attention is being directed a great deal towards home and family matters. And it may even feel like you don't have that much time until the end of the month to go out, to meet with people, to connect, to kick off new projects in general. Now, on the 27th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, my dear Aries, we have a full moon in Scorpio happening in your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, inheritances, psychological transformation, and there's going to be a T-square in the sky with Saturn in Aquarius in your 11th house and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 2nd house of income and values. So this is a bit of a tricky moment. It's a burst of the bubble type of moment regarding your expenses, regarding maybe some money that you owe, if you owe any sort of debts, if you have taxes to pay. You're probably going to have to pay them around this time, and because the Sun is conjunct Uranus in your 2nd house of income, probably there will be expenses that you did not expect to have on your plate, or maybe there's some sort of penalty that you need to pay. Maybe the sum that you are expected to pay is a lot larger. I would be prepared, and I would have, let's say, some money saved aside or a bit of a buffer for unexpected increases in the money that you owe that are due to be paid towards the end of April. If you've been waiting on a decision to be taken, if you've been waiting on news to make its way to you regarding shared resources, regarding maybe a mortgage, regarding a loan, regarding taxes, you're probably going to hear the news around the 27th of April. At the same time, I want to warn you, once again, it's bringing surprises, and the surprise is likely to take your bank account by storm. Not exactly in the nicest of ways. So there may be a significant contraction in your budget at this time. There is also a possibility, if you are in a partnership with someone, because the 8th house is the house of shared resources, that your partner might need you to help them take care of a debt, or take care of their taxes, maybe take care of a loan that is overdue. There are some good news at this time. I realize there's a bit of a challenging aspect in the sky, so it's a bit of a stalemate type of moment. It's like you're faced with something that you don't necessarily want to deal with, but nevertheless it needs to be taken care of. At the same time, we have the moon in Scorpio, in a nice aspect to Mars in Cancer in your 4th house. What's going on at the time? You may receive help from family members, or essentially you realize, even though maybe you have to fork out some more money than you thought you'd have to fork out at the full moon, it's for a good cause, and it's going to help settle maybe some disputes or settle some issues connected to your home environment. And that, my dear Aries, is your April horoscope. Now, let us move on to, I was about to give you a round of applause, but I realize it's not April yet, so my lovely Aries, let me know how this month plays out for you. Now, Taurus suns and Taurus risings, welcome to your April horoscope. What's going on? Okay, so the month is off to a bit of a slower start because you obviously have a lot of 12th house activity. When the planets move through Aries, Aries is the sign that governs your 12th house, connected to dreams, introspection, spending time by yourself, dealing with the shadow, letting go of things in your life, and you just probably don't necessarily feel very energized or very eager to face the world in Aries season. So there's going to be a little bit of that, quite a bit in the first part of the month, but from the middle of the month onwards, you are going to be the star of the zodiac. So in the first couple of weeks of April, the Sun conjunct Venus, your ruler, in your 12th house of rest and introspection and dream work, will sextile Mars in Gemini in your 2nd house. So it looks like, even though you're probably spending time away from the maddening crowd, and you're not really keen to get together with people, you're not really keen to face the world, you might feel sleepier and, let's say, a bit more tired than you normally feel. It does look like you're working on something behind the scenes that is bringing you, very likely, an increase in your income. So maybe you have a side hustle that you're trying to keep away from prying eyes, and it's proving to be very lucrative in the first 2 weeks of April, my dear Taurus. I'm also liking the fact that from the 7th until the 16th of April, obviously the Sun is going to continue to conjunct Venus in Aries in your 12th house and sextile Mars in Gemini in your 2nd, but it is also going to sextile Jupiter in Aquarius in your 10th house of career. Taurus, you seem to be pulling some strings behind the scenes so that you can advance in your career. Maybe you are holding some secret negotiations. Maybe you have a secret offer on the table that you haven't decided whether you're going to say yes or no to yet. Maybe you have a few different side hustles. Maybe you are doing work behind the scenes that you really don't want your boss to know of. But at the same time, you're also thinking, in the first, let's say, couple of weeks of April, what if I turn my side hustle into my main hustle? Or what if I go to my boss and ask for an increase in salary, for a raise? Because look, I'm already doing really well. And if they said no, I'd have all of these extra gigs to kind of like take care of. There's also a possibility that you might be completely unaware of this activity that is happening in the 12th house, because a lot of the times what happens in the 12th house, we tend to not see it coming. That's why it's the house of the shadow. There can be some very powerful people discussing in the background about your future, especially in terms of career, and you seem to be having some very powerful support. So if there are conversations going on behind the scenes regarding your career, it looks like you're protected, and it looks like you're going to come out of these conversations and out of these discussions better off, maybe even with, let's say, some sort of promotion, Taurus. So sometimes not knowing what's going on doesn't necessarily have to bring any sort of unpleasant surprises. On the contrary. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th, Mercury is also going to be cruising through Aries in your 12th house. Mercury is actually the ruler of your 2nd house of income, so you could be having maybe impromptu kind of inspirations, ideas, maybe insights that come to you in your dreams or whilst you're resting, whilst you're chilling, related to how you can further monetize your talents. Now, on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 12th house, of all things hidden, of the shadow, of past lives, and of the subconscious, conjunct Mercury and Venus, and sextiling Jupiter and Aquarius in your 10th house, and making this harmonious aspect with Mars and Gemini in your 2nd house. Okay, so around the 12th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, Taurus, there is some sort of crystallization or consolidation of the energies that I've been mentioning in the first part of the update. You seem to be reaching a decision, a conclusion, making up your mind, because Mercury is involved. So Mercury governs the mind. In regards to your future, career-wise, and you seem to be also probably taking a decision to take some significant leap of faith, since Jupiter in Aquarius in your 10th house is involved at the time of the new moon. You may have already received a new offer on the table. You may have already taken a very strong decision to move away from where you're at as we speak career-wise, in order to expand your horizons for the long run. Jupiter rules your 8th house and your 11th house, so it also rules your house of long-term plans, goals, and dreams. So even if you're leaving behind, or you're deciding to leave behind a job, it does seem to be with a view to pursue additional and more exciting long-term plans and dreams of yours, and you're feeling very happy with the fact that you've left something behind at this time, Taurians. Now, from the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus is cruising through your sign. Venus loves going through Taurus because Venus is your ruler, so it's in its domicile. This is a fantastic time for you to enjoy yourself, to take care of yourself, to enjoy the finer things in life, to buy yourself some really nice, luxurious objects because you deserve it. It is also a time to upgrade your wardrobe between the 14th of April and the 11th of May. Get yourself involved in any sort of activities that involve the physical senses and aesthetics and pleasure, because these are all ruled by Venus. You may be feeling more creative, more inspired if you're working in a creative environment with Venus in your 1st house, my dear Taurus. And it's also a time to, as I've mentioned, take a more sensual approach to life. And also, as I've mentioned before, if you want to change your haircut, buy new clothes, I don't know, try out a new style, get some beauty procedures done, Venus is your ally. From the 19th of April, Mercury and the Sun will also start moving through Taurus in your first house. All eyes are on you. It's like you feel ready to get out of your shell, meet people, face the world. You're feeling more active. You're feeling more energized. You're feeling mentally very stimulated with Mercury in your first house as well. From the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, we are going to have Mars switching signs from Gemini to Cancer in your third house. So what's happening between the 23rd of April until the 11th of June? Mars energizes and stimulates and brings a great deal of energy and stamina and drive to whatever it touches. So you may be probably on the road quite a lot between the 23rd of April until the 11th of June. Very careful with Mars in this part of your chart not to drive too fast, not to rush, not to get too impatient with others. There is a possibility for arguments and conflicts with Mars transiting through your third house of communication, because you want to be very efficient and you want to get things done, especially anything that involves writing, speaking, teaching, learning, sales, and it may feel like others are not as fast as you are. So there is a strong potential for arguments, especially with siblings. So don't take it personally. Take it easy, my dear Taurians. Now, on the 27th of April, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your seventh house of marriage, long-term partnerships, and committed relationships. And this is obviously triggering the sun in your first house of identity. And we also have a T-square in the sky with Saturn in Aquarius in your 10th house, and the sun conjunct Uranus in your first house. What's going on at this time? So some Taurians, I'm going to put it out there, some Taurians may reach, let's say, a turning point in their one-to-one relationships. If you are in a relationship, you may take a very drastic decision at this time regarding the direction in which your relationship is headed. You may surprise your partner with your decision because the sun conjunct Uranus in your first house is making you very prone to, let's say, disruption or surprises. You may realize, you may have a bit of an aha moment, a bit of an enlightenment moment where you decide essentially the future of your relationship because whatever you're doing at this moment in time is no longer working for you. For some folks, there could be a change in status. Now, I'm going to say full moons are culminations. So culminations can bring closures, but they can also bring let's say the truth into our awareness. So some Taurians might become very conscious of the fact that they want to be with their partner forever, but at the same time, they want to do it properly. They want to do it officially. They want to get married. So there is this, let's say, very public type of moment that you are experiencing as a couple. If you are not in a couple, this full moon is actually quite challenging from a career perspective. Why is that? There seems to be some sort of personal attack that you feel like you're under, coming from people in positions of leadership or authority with Saturn in the 10th house of career. You're not seeing eye to eye with a boss, very likely, and you might be openly confronting them. It's not ending the way you'd like it to end. It's complicated, and you may feel inclined to throw in the towel. Tensions are running really high at this time. My recommendation is not to act in the spur of the moment because you're going to feel literally inclined to slam the door in their face and say, you know what, I don't need this in my life. Maybe you don't, but at the same time, my thing is don't burn bridges. If you can, don't burn bridges anywhere. Especially in the business world, if you are working in the business world, unless it is absolutely, completely warranted. And that, my dear Taurians, is your month of April. Now, if you are a Gemini sun or a Gemini rising, what does April have in store for you? So, the sun is going to be conjunct Venus in Aries in your 11th house in the first 2 weeks of April, Geminis, and it's going to be sextiling Mars in your first house. this is a fabulously energizing aspect that you are benefiting, dear Geminis. So let's see what Venus rules for you. So Venus rules your 12th house and your 5th house. And the Sun, my dear Geminis, rules your 3rd house. So what's happening is you are feeling on fire in terms of the mental connections and the intellectually stimulating conversations that you are having with your friends in the first 2 weeks of the month. You're probably feeling very appreciated, and you seem to be incredibly active in groups of people, maybe in the local community, maybe in group type of environments and setups. Maybe you're planning things together with a group of people, and it doesn't just have to be your friends. It can be, let's say, maybe planning something together with a group that you volunteer with. You are on a high in the first 2 weeks of April, dear Geminis. And it's an absolutely fantastic time to spread the word about anything that you're doing. It's an absolutely fantastic time to bring people on board to collaborate with you on your own projects, because the 11th house is also the house of alliances. So it's almost as if everyone wants to work with you, everyone wants to collaborate with you, people believe in your ideas, they love your energy, and you can be making some very powerful allies. So speak up, dear Geminis. I mean, I'm relying on you. You always speak up. Who am I kidding? What I also like at this time, from the 7th until the 16th of April, is the fact that the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your 11th house is also going to be in a really nice aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 9th house. So this is a time when you may feel like you are learning a great deal, and you're expanding your wisdom and your horizons tremendously as a result of the people that you are interacting with and engaging with based on common goals or common interests. So it can feel like a period when your wisdom is increasing, and when your big picture of life is becoming even bigger, even more expanded, Geminis. You're feeling, can I just say, you are in a really good place mentally. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th, Mercury also energizes your 11th house of long-term plans, goals, and dreams, as well as groups of friends. You're probably going to meet a lot of new people between the 4th and the 19th of April, and you're in the mood to connect, to exchange ideas, to exchange opinions, and to also learn from others. Now, on the 12th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon in Aries in your 11th house, dear Geminis, conjunct Mercury and Venus, and sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 9th house, and Mars in Gemini in your 1st house. Okay, so this is when you might be taking a long-term decision connected to higher education, also connected to any sort of big picture topics, such as maybe studying a topic like astrology, or maybe deciding to kind of like pursue, let's say, a specific type of school that will broaden your view of the world. This is also a time when you're very likely, I keep on saying it, but there can be updates connected to long distance travel, and also some very pleasant updates connected to your educational future, or anything connected with visas, the judicial system, the legal system. It's as if you are having your way in these parts of your life. If you have been handing in exams or waiting for exam results, the results are also very positive. Your mind is doing what it is supposed to, and you are loving it. Now, on the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus is going to be cruising through Taurus in your 12th house. Now, this is a good time. It's a really good time, I have to say, in the second half of April. The first half it was very social and very active, very mentally and intellectually engaging. The second half is a time of introspection. It's a time to slow down, maybe to take some time off. I generally recommend to people that they go on holiday or that they take time off when Venus is going through their 12th house. because you are likely to feel very well rested as a result of it. Now, from the 19th of April, Mercury and the Sun also join Venus in your 12th house. So it can feel like all of your energy is kind of like being concentrated in the second half of April on your dreams, on looking inwards, on spending time with yourself, on disconnecting from the world, on grounding yourself, on reconnecting with your body, with your senses, and there is definitely a time for that. You give yourself a bit of time because you are going to be on fire once eclipse season starts in May, Geminis. So if you can take time off between the 14th of April and the 11th of May, even if it's just a few days, I would say take it. Now, on the 19th of April, as I've mentioned, Mercury and the Sun move into your 12th house, but on the 23rd of April, Mars moves into Cancer in your second house until the 11th of June. Mars can literally burn a hole in your pocket throughout this period, so you may feel very inclined to spend more money. You may feel very inclined to, to invest your time, energy, and resources, and especially financial resources, towards fulfilling a long-term plan, because Mars governs your 11th house of long-term plans. So you may be thinking, okay, how can I further my plans? Let me just spend some money maybe on this course, maybe on like another type of activity. It's also a time when you can put your energy and stamina into finding new ways to capitalize on your talents. So, for instance, this is a fantastic time in general for a lot of people when Mars is going through their second house to look for new sources of income or to look for new job opportunities. Now, on the 27th of April, we have a full moon in Scorpio triggering your 6th house of day-to-day work and daily duties and responsibilities, and your 12th house of dreams and introspection and past lives. And it's in a T-square with Saturn in your 9th house and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 12th house. What's going on? So, because it's a full moon, it can be a moment of closure, of ending. 3 days before, 3 days after the 27th of April, you may hear that someone in your team, work-wise, is leaving. You are losing a team member. They're deciding to move on. There can be some, I'm going to put it out there, some very unexpected and also quite jarring news connected to the future of your day-to-day work sector. Maybe the team is being restructured. Maybe they're telling you that, I don't know, you're going to have to work from home for a really long time, or maybe you have to go back into the office if you've been working from home for a really long time. Maybe they are announcing you that there will be some legal restrictions related to whether you can work from a different country or not. It does seem to be a time of you hearing news that are in some way restrictive, that are taking something away from you, even if it's just the metaphorical kind of like taking away of a team member. Maybe you could hear about you having to take on board their duties and responsibilities. It can also be a bit of a time of inflammation, health-wise, and especially on a mental health level, because Saturn in Aquarius is involved. You may be having a bit of a hard time. Be gentle with yourself. This too shall pass. And the moon in Scorpio is actually trining Mars in Cancer in your second house. So if this piece of news related to your work is affecting your livelihood, I have to say, you already seem to have an idea of where you're headed next. If you are deciding, let's say, to move away from a job at this time because you can no longer take the new rules and regulations and the new team structure, and it just doesn't sit well with you. So you do seem to have a backup plan, even if it's not something that you thought you'd use so quickly, dear Geminis. And that's April. My Cancerian brothers and sisters, for those of you who are here for the first time, I'm a Cancer rising, so that's why I always give you a shout out. So what is going on in our life in April, or what can we anticipate to be going on in our life in April? Well, Cancerians, the first half of April, I'll put it out there for you, first couple of weeks at least, are incredibly focused on your career. So you're going to be massively busy. You're going to be making moves. You're going to be in the spotlight and the limelight, taking decisions, putting yourself out there. So let me not get ahead of myself and start breaking things down for us. Between the 1st and the 14th of April, the Sun is going to conjunct Venus in Aries in your house of career, and it's going to be sextiling Mars in Gemini in your 12th house of moves behind the scenes. So what's happening in the first 2 weeks is you seem to be received with great joy and even admiration by the people that you are working with, especially by bosses. You seem to be very appreciated. You seem to be valued. If you are in a leadership position yourself, if you are expected to take decisions, you could say that you're very inspired, and you have this kind of like gut instinct as to how to present things to the public, how to persuade people using the right approach, how to inspire and motivate people. I gotta tell you, Cancerians, in the first half of the month, you are truly an inspirational figure, a motivational figure, no matter whether you are in a position of leadership or not. You have a lot of energy to kick off new things in your career. I'm also going to say, if you are thinking of going in a new direction career-wise, you are receiving a great deal of support to do so. And it's almost as if subconsciously, instinctively, you are being directed in, let's say, in such a way that you feel very confident. You are much more self-assertive and much more driven and much more motivated to kick off new things, maybe new projects, maybe ask for, I don't know, like a promotion of some sort, maybe look for new opportunities, maybe start off your own business. You're a lot more motivated than you've been, I don't know, folks, seriously, it's probably been a really, really long time. And it could also be because you seem to have had some sort of, let's say, home-related win. Or maybe because in the past few months, there could have been something happening in your home life that was keeping you from giving maybe your 200% career-wise, and now that pressure has been lifted off your shoulders and you're like, yes, full speed ahead. Now, from the 7th until the 16th of April, another stellar aspect that I really, really like. So not only is the Sun conjunct Venus in your house of career, sextiling Mars and Gemini in the 12th house, essentially giving you some really unexpected insights as to where you need to be headed professionally. We have the Sun in a sextile to Aquarius in your 8th house. Okay, so you seem to be expecting between the 7th and the 16th, maybe some significant return on one of your investments, and that's also giving you the confidence to possibly step in a new direction career-wise and business-wise, especially if you are doing something business-wise by yourself. So if you're running your own business, if you're running your own company, if you are thinking of branching out, if you're thinking of starting off something new, essentially it looks like you are receiving maybe a return on investment, maybe you're receiving funding from an external investor, and you literally feel as if you are being supported by very strong forces. So now it's up to you to be brave enough to take the leap business-wise, career-wise, and to see what's out there for you, Cancerians. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th, Mercury is going to be moving through Aries in your house of career, energizing this mentally energizing this part of your life as well. There's going to be a lot of talks with people at positions of, let's say, leadership. There's probably also going to be a lot of communicational exchanges with institutions, because the 10th house is also connected with institutions. Mercury also rules your 3rd house, my dear Cancerians. So you may be doing a lot of negotiating and selling as well, or maybe establishing the terms of a sale, a very important sale, and you're probably on the winning side in terms of where the negotiation is headed. You're probably getting a big yes for what it is that you are asking for. Now on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 10th house. Okay, Cancerians, this is a fantastic new work chapter for you, a fantastic new career chapter, actually, when you're getting a lot of exposure, you're being acknowledged publicly, you might be starting off a new business altogether, you might be starting off in a new position at your current kind of like company altogether, with more status, more responsibility, and also, by the looks of it, very likely maybe even a signing bonus or let's say, the promise of like, what is it called? Stocks in the company. You seem to be getting more than just your regular salary package. Now, it looks like around the 12th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, maybe some sort of gamble paid off career-wise. It does seem to be a move that you may not have been fully consciously, logically, reasonably sure that it was the right move for you career-wise, and by how pleasant the aspects in the sky are on the 12th of April, you seem probably to be congratulating yourself for having trusted your gut and your intuition and your instinct, even if it didn't make like full-blown, rational, reasonable sense. This can also be a time when you overcome some sort of psychological challenge in your career, and you are looking back to see how much more resilient you have become in the last 6 months at least. Now, on the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus is going to be transiting through Taurus in your 11th house. Okay, so from the 14th of April until pretty much the end of the month, first we've got Venus moving into your 11th house. Then on the 19th, we've got Mercury and the Sun moving into your 11th house. You are in full-blown social butterfly mode. It's like, yes, let's catch up with all the people. Let's meet up in the park. Let's have a picnic. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy ourselves. And it looks like you're going to be enjoying yourself a lot between the 14th of April until the 11th of May, because Venus is the planet of sensual pleasure and joy and enjoyment and being in the moment and being receptive and connecting with others and relating to others. You're going to be doing a lot of relating to others, a lot of catching up with friends, a lot of possibly being introduced to new people. You are being given this sense of belonging to a wider group of people that makes you feel really, really good with yourself, and it makes you feel, in a way, very grounded, I would also say. Now, on the 23rd of April, Mars is moving through Cancer until the 11th of June in your first house. Okay, so Mars doesn't really like to be in Cancer, but that doesn't mean that you can't make the most of it. So from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, you are going to be on literal fire. So you're going to be a lot more energized than usual. You're also going to be a lot more impatient than usual. When Mars is going through our first house, I generally tell folks, slow down. Do not hurt yourself. Don't cut or burn yourself, because Mars going through the first house does make people prone to these types of cutting or burning accidents, all ruled by Mars in general. At the same time, if you have a specific personal objective and goal to direct your conscious energy towards, you're gonna be like a machine, Cancerians, like a literal machine. It's like, I want to get this done and I'm going to do it and no one's going to stand in my way. Now, you're probably also going to be a lot more passive aggressive than you normally are. Who, me? Passive aggressive? No. If you know me in real life, I'm gonna say I'm probably, like, when I get aggressive, I'm aggressive. I'm definitely not passive, but I'm only a Cancer rising. I have a lot of Aquarius energy in my chart. So yeah, it could make you, let's say, a little bit more impatient and easier to get upset with the world around you, because the world around you is not moving at your pace, Cancerians. Slow down. Take it easy and work hard towards one goal and one objective. And if you've been waiting for a time to get going on that workout routine, now is your time when Mars is going through your first house. Now, on the 27th of April, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your 5th house of creative endeavors, children, passions, fun, enjoyment, and romantic love. And this is forming a T-square with Saturn and Aquarius in your 8th house of intimacy and psychological transformation, and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 11th house. Now, this can be a bit of a, let's say, a bit of a more disappointing full moon because of the T-square in the sky. 3 days before, 3 days after the 27th of April, you may find out that maybe a plan that you had made with your friends is unlikely to play out the way you wanted it to, and you have to kind of like give up on it, maybe because there's something going on in the life of your partner, or you might be encountering some kind of like financial, let's say, obstacles that need you to focus your attention fully on them rather than on fun and enjoyment. This can also be a time of a creative project coming to an end, but it can be an abrupt end. I'm going to warn you. If you have kids, now I would be quite careful at this time that they don't they can be very argumentative. Let's put it this way, that they don't feel like, I was about to say that they don't feel attacked by how you approach them, because there is this like very strong rebellious streak to this full moon. There can be, let's say, if you have kids, the sudden completion of a maybe educational phase in the life of your children. You don't seem to have prepared so much for it, but at the same time, the moon in Scorpio in your 5th house is in a beautiful aspect with Mars in Cancer in your 1st house. So if there is some sort of like crisis or challenge in the life of your children, you're prepared, you've got energy, and you are going to fight whoever needs to be fought and whoever needs to be like pushed out of the way, because that is what you do, especially when Mars is in your 1st house, Cancerians. Now, my dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings, what can you expect from the month of April? Well, you are probably going to really enjoy the first half of April, and then things are going to get a little bit more complex from the second half of April, and especially after the 19th of April, when Mercury and the Sun enter Taurus, and Taurus is a sign that is squaring you. Now, the first half of April, you're really going to enjoy it because there's a lot of planets in Aries. You really get along with Aries because it's a fire sign, and Aries trines Leo. So there's a harmonious, smooth aspect of collaboration between your two signs. From the 1st until the 14th of April, Leos, the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your 9th house of long distance travel, higher mind, higher education, is going to be sextiling Mars and Gemini in your 11th house. What's cooking here? So, you seem to be spending a great deal of time in public. Yes, in public in the first half of the month, possibly connecting with like-minded individuals who have similar goals, interests, let's say similar approaches and worldviews when it comes to how they live their lives. You may be also getting some very positive news connected to anything travel related, anything legal, anything that involves the judicial system, anything related to visas, anything related to paperwork and documentation. And you're also in a very productive mode when it comes to your long-term plans for the future in regards to higher mind, higher education, university, planning travels, planning anything that has to do with visas and paperwork of that nature. Yes. Now, from the 7th until the 16th of April, the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your 9th house and sextiling Mars and Gemini in your 11th house is also going to be in a beautiful aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 7th house of long-term partnerships and contractual relationships. So what's happening here? You may be feeling ready to plan for the future, something of a legal nature with your partner. Maybe you are planning to get married. I actually know a few Leos. Well, there's one in particular that I have in mind who may be planning to get married. Just to let you in on a secret. When I do these horoscopes, I have someone in mind many times in my life who I think of, and I'm like, yeah, that's what's happening in your life. That's what's happening in your life. That's what theme is going to be very prominent for you. So, yeah, between the 7th and the 16th, Leos, you may want to officialize a relationship, and it might involve, I don't know, going to the mayor's office, you know? There's also a possibility that you're probably going to be spending a lot of time with a partner in social environments. So intellectually stimulating each other, meeting new people, introducing each other to your circles of friends, that type of energy. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th, Mercury is also joining Aries in your 9th house of the higher mind and long distance travel. And this is essentially from the 4th until the 19th, let's say, very nicely aspecting anything that has to do with you getting on the road, you getting on the plane. You might be more inclined to get on the plane than general. And also Mercury rules your 2nd house of income. So you might be very inclined to spend money between the 4th and the 19th on travel and on education. Yes, higher education. Maybe you're planning to take some sort of like longer term course, Leos. Bear with me just a second. Now, moving forward in time, on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 9th house, conjunct Mercury and Venus, and sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 7th house. And in a nice aspect to Mars and Gemini in your 11th house as well. So at this time, around the 12th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, you may be embarking upon a new learning path. You may also receive very good news related to a legal matter that you are waiting to solve. There is a possibility at this time that you may be, let's say, discovering a new topic of interest that is really going to keep you busy for the next 6 months at least. Big picture topics such as astrology, philosophy, some sort of like faith or spiritual type of practice that is really blowing your mind, and that is also very likely introducing you to a new community. So it's coming like it's coming as one big package for you, Leo. Now, from the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus is going to be moving through Taurus in your 10th house of career, and also followed by Mercury and the Sun from the 19th of April onwards. So from the 14th until the end of the month, your focus is shifting from these kind of like intellectual topics and philosophical ways of looking at life. Your interest is shifting to your career and your career objectives and where you want to be headed career-wise. From the 14th until the 11th of May, you're very nicely aspected. I gotta say, if you are thinking to, let's say, interview, or if you need to be speaking in public, if you need to be taking the floor, you are very, very beautifully aspected to be well received, my dear Leo. Now, on the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Mars is going to be moving through Cancer in your 12th house. Now, Mars, for you, my lovely Leos, rules your 9th house and your 4th house of home. So it looks like you are putting somewhere at the back of your mind, or you might be working more in private and behind the scenes on topics connected to your home life and to your family life and to your private life. And I gotta put it out there. Mars going through Cancer in the 12th house might make you feel a little bit helpless regarding one particular issue connected to your home life. Maybe you're feeling a bit disappointed because things are not moving as fast as you want them to move. Maybe you're feeling a little bit helpless if there is someone suffering in your family. Maybe you're feeling helpless because you're not physically there with them. There can be a bit of a feeling of like self-sacrifice in regards to a family-related matter between the 23rd of April until the 11th of June. At the same time, you're probably going to be having a lot of sleepless nights with Mars going through your 12th house, my dear Leos. And your dreams can be incredibly vivid, incredibly vivid. On the 27th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, Leos, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your 4th house of home, family, and roots, in a T-square with Saturn in Aquarius in your 7th house, and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 10th house of career, public status, and public reputation. What's happening here is there can be some sort of let's call it restrictive set of circumstances that you are encountering in regards to a home-related matter. Maybe you felt like you would be done with, I don't know, renovating the house by this time or moving house by this time, and you realize actually it's going to take some more time. Maybe there could be a peak in a health-related issue for one of your family members, and once again, you are not feeling very empowered at this time because there is literally nothing you can do. You're just like watching around and seeing things unfold. Some of you may decide at this time to move into a new home, and you could be in the process of moving, and it seems to be quite stressful because there is a lot going on in your career sector. I do want to say the moon in Scorpio is going to be in a nice aspect to Mars in Cancer in your 12th house at the time. You can trust your intuition as to where you need to be headed in regards to this home related matter. And if you need to leave a home behind, or if you are feeling, let's say, restrained or constrained by a home related topic, listen to what that inner voice is saying, and probably that inner voice might be saying surrender and just like let things flow and let things go. Because forcing things is only going to make it harder for you. And that is April, my dear Leos. My dear Virgos, Virgo suns, and Virgo risings, welcome to your April horoscope. So, what is this month about for you? Well, the first half of the month is going to be very focused on 8th house matters, so shared resources, intimacy, psychological breakthroughs, and the second half of the month is going to be very, very focused on 9th house matters, so higher education in particular, but also travel and broadening your horizons in some way, Virgo. Now, in the first 2 weeks of April, the Sun is going to be conjunct Venus in Aries in your 8th house of shared resources, and it's going to be sextiling Mars in Gemini in your 10th house of career. You are fabulously aspected in the first half of the month to essentially receive funding for your business if you are working for yourself, or if you are self-employed, to receive some external financial support. So maybe you're getting a loan from the bank, or maybe you are getting some sort of bonus for everything that you have delivered in the past year. It also looks like you have this ability in the first 2 weeks of the month to solve crises at work, to act as the authority figure that steps up and that helps people overcome some of the challenges that they might have been encountering. Maybe there is some sort of like unexpected crisis unfolding, and you are the one kind of like stepping in and saying, let me show you the way, let me solve this for you, let me point out what is the best way forward. It's also a fantastic time to be a receiving return on investment, and also to be thinking of new ways to invest your money, my dear Virgos. You are also very nicely aspected to act as the mediator in a professional environment in the first 2 weeks of the month. Now, from the 7th until the 16th, the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your 8th house is also going to be in a sextile to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So, this also points towards you probably overcoming some source of stress at work, or maybe feeling like you can finally get along or work better with a specific team or maybe with a specific team member. It can also feel like a time when you are overcoming any sort of health related crisis. Maybe you are understanding all of a sudden between the 7th and the 16th of April, the connection between something that you are going on a mental or psychological level, something that you were going through, and it may have also been affecting your health, and all of a sudden things start clicking and you start making sense of how the two possibly at first sight unrelated elements were linked, and how they were also affecting your stress levels. And because you can see a way out, and also because you can see a connection, you seem to be getting better health-wise, if there was anything that was plaguing you from a health-related perspective. Now, there's also this possibility, I have to say, because this beautiful aspect between Sun conjunct Venus in Aries and Jupiter in Aquarius in your 6th house is also involving Mars in Gemini in your 10th house of career, that you are really scoring some fabulous deals in your workplace. And these also seem to be increasing your status and your reputation amongst your peers. So it's definitely a time of like you receiving a big round of applause career-wise, Virgos. From the 4th of April until the 19th of April, we also have Mercury, your ruler, moving through Aries in your 8th house. You're probably going to be thinking a lot about how to, let's say, multiply your money, how to make it work for you when you are sleeping in a way. This is also a period when you could be finding, let's say, a financial advisor that really helps sort out the financial entanglements or let's say the financial topics that you have to deal with. So for instance, taxes, you could be getting a new accountant and someone who is really, really aligned with how you see yourself making the most of your income. Now, on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in this part of your chart in the 8th house. It is conjunct Mercury and Venus, and it is sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 6th house and Mars in Gemini in your 10th house of career. I absolutely love this new moon. It is so beautifully, beautifully aspected. There is something to be mindful of. You may overextend yourself a little bit financially at this time. So you could be getting some good news related to a loan or related to some funding that you have been waiting for, or some good news related to overcoming, let's say, some financial kind of like difficulty that you were involved in with a partner, be it a business partner, be it a life partner. The challenge is that you might be inclined to bite off a little bit more than you can chew, and that is unlike you in general. I absolutely acknowledge that, but there could be elements that are hidden maybe from the contract that you don't pick up like straight away if there is a contract that is involved. And I would recommend getting a second pair of eyes, maybe a pair of professional eyes, to go over any sort of papers that you need to sign. For instance, even like when it comes to a mortgage, I would call your solicitor and ask about anything that doesn't look exactly right. But you are you're getting good news, no matter whether this money is coming from your own kind of like initiatives, or it's coming from a partner, so be it a business partner or a life partner. It's also a very beautiful time when you are kicking off a new chapter in the area of your intimacy sector. So you may feel like your relationship with a partner is being strengthened. Intimate partners are both business partners and romantic partners. So once we share money, that's it. It's very, very intimate. Now, from the 14th of April until the end of the month, and actually until the 11th of May, Venus is going to be transiting through Taurus in your 9th house of long-distance travel, higher mind, higher education, and also all things connected to legal matters, but also teachers and mentors. From the 14th until the 11th of May, there is a possibility that you may be feeling ready to travel, ready to expand your mind, ready to meet new people, ready to connect with people. It's a really good time to spread the word about anything that you're doing. It's a fantastic time for those who work in marketing or in publishing or in advertising, because it looks like your campaigns or your initiatives are really hitting the sweet spot with the public. Now, from the 19th of April until the end of the month, Mercury and the Sun move through Taurus in this part of your chart. This is a very socially active part of the chart, and it's a very public-facing part of the chart. You may be very, let's say, concerned with matters connected with higher education, maybe handing in papers, maybe handing in exams, taking exams, hearing results of exams, making plans for the next 6 months in regards to your higher education, my dear Virgos. Now, from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Mars is going to enter Cancer and move through Cancer in your 11th house. Mars energizes everything that it touches. I feel like I've said that many times. And Mars actually rules your 3rd house of communication and the logical mind. What is going on here? And it also rules the 8th house. So you might be making, let's say, great strides, because Mars gives us the stamina and the energy to make great strides in regards to a particular long-term plan that you have connected to education or connected to shared resources or some sort of like tax or inheritance that has come up on your plate. Now, it can also be a time when you may be feeling a little bit more inclined towards debates with friends and a lot more competitive towards the people who you find yourself surrounded by, and there can be some very friendly competition and some motivation that is happening between you and your friends. But at the same time, it can also mean that there could be more conflicts than usual between you and your friends, my dear Virgo. And on the 27th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your 3rd house of communication, of siblings, of transportation, also triggering your 9th house in a T-square with Saturn in Aquarius in your 6th house. What's going on here? So, we have the moon involved, we have the Sun conjunct Uranus involved, and we have Saturn and Aquarius involved. So at this time, you could be hearing news around the full moon about the health of a sibling or the job of a sibling, and it might not necessarily be the most pleasant of news, because T-squares are quite challenging aspects. They're dynamic aspects. You may be feeling inclined to step in and to help a sibling, maybe fill in some paperwork, maybe deal with some stressful news connected to education, studying, or their job. It can also be a time when you hear of something that you have been dealing with health-wise that requires you to eliminate, let's say, a specific habit from your daily routine. It could also be some challenging news connected to a coworker. The 27th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, is actually a very challenging time in terms of communication with coworkers. You may be feeling misunderstood at this time. You may be feeling maybe like your messages are landing on deaf ears. I think that's the right expression. And there can also be some sort of delay connected to a work project because of a legal nature, and it doesn't seem to be something that you could have prevented. So don't be too hard on yourself, and also don't take it personally if someone in your team is getting very annoyed as well. It is not your fault. It doesn't seem to be anyone's fault. If anything, you could blame the authorities. When in doubt, blame the system. Blame the game. Don't blame the players. Saying that, the moon in Scorpio is going to be trining Mars in Cancer in your 11th house. So essentially, the news that you're getting or the frustrating exchanges that you are having with a team member or with your team around the 27th of April are giving you ideas as to how you can move forward with a personal plan, my dear Virgo. So it's not all that challenging, okay? Now, if you are a Libra sun or a Libra rising, the first half of the month, my dear Libras, is going to be very, very focused on partnerships for you. And you may feel like your partners, be them business partners, be them life partners, require a great deal of your attention. If you're single, then get ready to mingle because everyone wants a piece of you, Libras. You are in very high demand in the first half of the month. In the second half of the month, things are getting a lot, let's say, weightier, a lot more smothering in a way, but they could also be getting a lot more passionate as well. So romantically, especially if you're single, I see you possibly like meeting someone, hooking up with them, and in the second half of the month actually spending some very intense, quality, passionate time together. So that's one way in which the month can play out. In the first half of the month, the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your 7th house is going to sextile Mars and Gemini in your 9th house. So you're going to be very mentally stimulated by a partner. You might be having some friendly debates and some friendly kind of like intellectual exchanges that get you thinking and that set your mind on fire with a romantic partner in the first half of the month, Libras. Now, the other possibility as to how this can play out is if you are in the process of formalizing a business partnership, then you are making great strides with Mars in the 9th house in regards to where the partnership is headed. So you could be filing paperwork. You could be signing contracts, sending contracts back. You also seem to be learning a great deal and having your mind blown a little bit from the people that you are meeting across your path. Everyone wants to help you in some shape or form. Everyone wants to enlighten you in some shape or form. They're stirring up your curiosity. This is also a fantastic time to publish things, to share stories with the world, and to run promotional kind of like materials because the 7th house means the 7th house with Venus there means that you're very well received by the people that you interact with, that you may consult, or the people that form your target audience. Now, I'm also liking the fact that between the 7th and the 16th of April, the Sun conjunct Venus in your 7th house of partnerships is also sextiling Jupiter and Aquarius in your 5th house. This is romantic energy at its best. A romantic relationship is absolutely evolving, and it's fun, and it's exhilarating in a way, and it may seem a little bit too good to be true, but at the same time, you are literally on the same page, and you probably can't even believe how much you can be both friends and lovers with a person, my dear Libra. You seem to be having a lot of fun with a partner, and partners are surprising you in the best of ways. Now, this is also a very party time mode, with Jupiter in your 5th house very nicely aspecting the Sun conjunct Venus. Like, this is party energy. Get out there and, yeah. If you're single, then you are... I can't see you. I literally cannot see you. I know I get a lot of messages from Libras who are saying, I'm single, no one yet. I'm like, what are you doing to meet people? Seriously. Generally, people with Libra rising actually have really nice aspects to meet people online because their 5th house of love is ruled by Aquarius, and Aquarius is connected with technology. So just giving you ideas, just to put it out there. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th of April, Mercury is also moving through Aries in your 7th house. So essentially, there is like this beautiful synergy, mental, intellectual synergy between you and a partner, and you might be talking out between the two of you very big picture topics such as worldview, politics, life philosophy. You're having a lot of fun in the first half of the month, Libra. This is very exciting. Enjoy it. Now, from the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus is going to be moving through Taurus in your 8th house. Now, Venus in Taurus in the 8th house has one big topic associated with it. Sensuality through, well, I was about to say one big keyword: sensuality connected with sexuality and connected to intimacy and bonding and merging with another person. Venus in Taurus is all about the physical senses. So give yourself permission to lose yourself in an intimate partnership. Now, this is also a fantastic time, I gotta tell you, if you're thinking of making investments between the 14th of April and the 11th of May. Venus in Taurus is really supporting you to put money behind other people's ventures, because the 8th house is also connected to investments. So for instance, investing in the stock market. Now, from the 19th of April until the end of the month, Mercury and the Sun highlight the 8th house of investments, of shared resources, of inheritances. You could be talking out with a partner, for instance. Let's say you've just moved in together, and you could be talking a great deal until the end of the month about how you are going to budget things, for instance, how you are going to pool your budgets together. Now, from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Libras, okay, Mars is gonna be cruising through your 10th house of career and status and reputation. So this is when you are at your most visible. Career-wise, my dear Libras, you are putting a great deal of energy into making yourself seen, heard, into fighting for your long-term career goals. You might be kicking off a great new deal of initiatives career-wise. You're feeling much more motivated career-wise than you have felt in a very, very long time. Now, with Mars there, be very careful that you don't come across as overly pushy and overly impatient to potential bosses or to your actual bosses. There is a possibility that you may be feeling, let's say, between the 23rd of April and the 11th of June, like everyone's, especially people in positions of power, like everyone's got something to say, to comment, and maybe sometimes even take a bit of a stab at the work that you do. You're probably not going to engage. It's unlike you to engage. You're probably going to diffuse the conflict, but you may feel like bosses are much more high-strung than usual, dear Libras. It can also be a period when you are actively working towards scoring a promotion or a new, let's say, position career-wise that is going to take you up the ladder. Now, on the 27th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your 2nd house of income, in a tense aspect to Saturn in Aquarius in your 5th house of love and children, and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 8th house. So this is when you may have, let's say, a full-blown argument about finances with your partner. That's why I recommend taking a very careful approach. Don't be the yes man when you're talking finances at the beginning of the month or towards the beginning of the month, because this is likely to result in a full-blown disagreement and feeling misunderstood and feeling even cheated by a partner. In what sense cheated? You thought you were so aligned and so much on the same page, and all of a sudden you realize, oh no, I'm not on the same page with this person. There seems to be a massive clash between your values and your partner's values at this time, and it is raining a little bit on your parade. Now, if you have kids, there can be a significant kind of like disagreement between you and a partner in regards to children, in regards to possibly how the child should be disciplined or how you should be establishing, let's say, the structures of your children's lives. There's also the possibility at this time that you may overextend yourself, Libra, financially, and find yourself in a bit of a pickle, maybe without that much money than you thought you could count on, maybe because you try to kind of like keep up with a partner or keep up with the people who you hang out with, and you're not exactly there yet by the looks of it. It's also a time when probably there's gonna be some debts that you have to pay, and there can be quite a bit that you have to fork out. The good news is the moon in Scorpio is going to be in a really nice aspect to Mars in Cancer in your 10th house. So if you are feeling overwhelmed by expenses at this time, there is a possibility that you may already be having some ideas or having, let's say, an ace up your sleeve regarding a career project that can result in an increase in your income. So essentially, if you're struggling or if you're feeling overwhelmed by expenses, you're going to be very motivated to make more money. And you can benefit from Mars going through your 10th house of career to either ask for more money or score a new client or essentially look for additional opportunities career-wise. So it's not all that bad. My dear Scorpios, Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings, welcome to your April horoscope. So what is this month about for you? First half, a great deal of, let's say, attention drawn towards the area of day-to-day work, daily habits, behaviors, as well as health-related matters. And the second half of the month is very focused on your relationships, on your partnership sector. So let's start breaking the month down for you. From the 1st until the 14th of April, we have the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health, sextiling Mars in Gemini in your 8th house. So what's going on here? Well, it looks like you are driving your energy and let's say your inner intellectual warrior towards solving crises and challenges at work. And guess what? You are doing it beautifully. So crisis and survival mode fully activated, and you seem to be coming up with exciting ideas as to how to move forward when everyone's pulling their hairs out. Now, with the Sun conjunct Venus in the 6th house of work in a beautiful aspect to Mars in the 8th house, you also seem to be making great strides in the area of health, especially if you were dealing with anything mental health-wise, maybe dealing with, I don't know, like specific anxiety connected to what's going on at work. Maybe you were feeling like there wasn't enough let's say, security that you could rely upon at work. Well, that seems to be an obstacle that you are overcoming with flying colors in the first 2 weeks. You also seem to be putting some of the possibly money that you're making at work into your investments, and you're very excited by the looks of it about the possibility to generate passive income. So possibility to invest and let the money work for you rather than you working for the money. I also like that between the 7th and the 16th, the Sun conjunct Venus in your 6th house of day-to-day work is going to be in a sextile to Jupiter in your 4th house of home and family. So what's happening here is you are putting a lot of daily effort and energy into building something at home, into setting up a better home environment that you are, let's say, much prouder of, a home environment that is in alignment with your values. Any sort of work that you are doing towards the home or that you are doing to help a family member seems to be very productive, constructive, and it's giving you almost like this new lease of life, this feeling of like starting fresh and moving in the direction where you feel the most comfortable home and family wise. You're also doing a fantastic job, especially until the 16th of April, leading people at work. So you have put on the hat of the leader, of the manager, of the boss, of the supervisor, and especially the leader who is taking quick decisions in times of emergency. And you are, once again, you are being very well received and you're being very appreciated for the fact that you can think on your feet and you can essentially point out the path when everyone else is kind of like looking sideways and saying, okay, what do we do with this? What now? Now, on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 6th house of day-to-day work, conjunct Mercury and Venus, so it's bringing good news, sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 4th house, and Mars in Gemini in your 8th house of shared resources. This, for a lot of Scorpios, can mean a new job. If that is the case, it's probably a much better paid job, and it's also a job that is giving you a better work-life balance, because we have that Jupiter in the 4th house of the home, and it looks like you have scored a very sweet deal financially as well. For those of you who are not starting a new job, you could be starting off a new project in some form, or becoming part of a new team, or welcoming a new team member at this time. Now, it also looks like all of the efforts that you've been putting into upgrading your daily habits and routines are starting to pay off already around the 12th of April. You're turning a new leaf in terms of how you approach your relationship with your body, how you approach your relationship with your health. You may also be taking on new, let's say, healthy habits at this time, possibly starting off a new workout routine. The news is good and the energy is high health-wise. So if you have been suffering health-wise at all, I'm really looking forward for you for the new moon on the 12th of April. You're turning a new leaf health-wise at this time. And you also seem to be in a really good place in terms of the support that you are receiving from partners in your life. Now, on the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus is going to be moving through Taurus in your 7th house. Now, this is a very romantic time. We love to have Venus in the 7th house because essentially it... for those of you who are in a partnership, it tends to make the partner more affectionate, and it also tends to make us look at the partner with more rosy-colored glasses. So we are in the mood to enjoy each other's company when Venus is transiting through the 7th house. If you are single, then Venus through the 7th house increases your chances of meeting someone because you draw towards you the energy of love. The 7th house is the other. It's what we magnetically draw towards us. And joining the 7th house party are Mercury and the Sun from the 19th of April. Now, let's see, for you, the Sun is ruling your house of career and status and reputation, and Mercury is ruling your 11th house and your 8th house. So there is a possibility that until next month, until the 11th of May, if you are single in particular, that you could be introduced to someone by your friends, because Mercury is ruling your 11th house of friends. And there's also a possibility that you might look at a friend at an existing friend as someone who could become a potential partner. It's also a great time to collaborate and to consult with people on matters connected to finances and investments. So for instance, reaching out to a financial advisor between this period is truly a really good decision. And it's a great time to plan for the long run, because Mercury also rules your 11th house of long-term plans. Any finances or investments that you have together with a partner, any joint ventures, any let's say plans that you have for the money that you make together. Now, from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Mars is going through Cancer in your 9th house. Well, this is going to ramp up the amount of energy and the urge, because Mars is desire, it's passion, to move, to travel long distance, to be with people, to be surrounded by people, to share your beliefs with the world, to share your stories with the world, to also fight for what you believe in and to stand up for what you believe in. It can also feel as if you are making progress in the area of higher education, very swift progress between the 23rd of April and the 11th of June. Mars also brings with it a bit of a competition and warrior spirit. So you could be finding yourself fighting in court in a way. Now, on the 27th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, there is a full moon happening in Scorpio in your first house of the self, of identity, of the physical body, in a T-square with Saturn and Aquarius in your fourth house of home, family and residence, and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your seventh house of marriage and long-term partnerships. Now, this can be a time when you take a very significant long-term decision related to your partner and also related to your living situation. It could be that you are faced with an ultimatum from an existing partner that says, if you want to be together, we got to move in together, or you have to kind of like make a move and present me to your family, present me to your parents. There can also be a clash between you and a partner related to one of your families, related to their family or related to your family or to a parent. No one wants to budge. There is the energy of open conflict at this time. I'm gonna put it out there, and your partner might also hit you with a very surprising kind of like insight about what they think about your family or about your living situation. The good news is that the moon in Scorpio in your first house is going to be in a trine to Mars in Cancer in your ninth house, essentially giving you ideas as to how you can work together and how you can meet halfway or how you can align mentally or from a values perspective, even though initially there do seem to be some sort of like restrictions connected to home and family life between you and a partner. Maybe you have to spend some time away from each other. Maybe you have a conflict related to your families. Maybe all of a sudden you realize that you no longer want to accept something that they're doing in the home, and you didn't have the guts to kind of like open up about this situation. Maybe you hate it that they leave the dishes in the sink. There can be kind of like an open confrontation, but at the same time, there is the possibility to transcend it and to find a way to work together based on long-term goals that you have together. So don't be afraid to look at the big picture at this time rather than get lost in the details. Now, because the Sun is conjunct Uranus, there can be a really unexpected element thrown in the mix by your partner. The Sun is the ruler of your house of career and status and reputation. It could be that your partner maybe felt, let's say, unappreciated enough for you to present them publicly or to expose yourself with them, and they're really going to confront you about it, Scorpio. So that's what's cooking. That's what's coming up. Sagittarians, welcome to your April horoscope. Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. So this month, especially the first half of the month for you, is going to be very, very focused on creativity, creative projects. For those of you who have children, very likely the first half of the month will be, let's say, chock full of activities with your kids, and the other half of the month from the 14th of April onwards, but it's getting stronger after the 19th. Your focus is going to be drawn towards work-related matters and everything to do with your health and daily habits and routines. So let's talk about the transits of the month, the most important transits. In the first 2 weeks, we're going to have the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your fifth house of creativity, children, and romantic love. In a beautiful, beautiful sextile. In traditional astrology, sextiles are, let's say, the nature of Venus, so very harmonious. In a beautiful sextile to Mars in Gemini in your seventh house of long-term committed partnerships. So for those of you who are single and probably ready to mingle, this is a fabulous time to have dates, to go out on dates, to meet potential romantic partners, to enjoy yourselves, to also get involved with people in your circles in activities that you are passionate about. So some of these that come to mind straight away could be, let's say, going out, meeting up with friends, maybe playing games, I don't know, maybe going to play tennis, for instance. Getting together with people that you really like to be in the company with and literally having fun and enjoying life and feeling alive and connecting with your inner child. It is truly a very, very happy time for you, dear Sagittarians. The first 2 weeks, I absolutely love these aspects. And plus, with Venus in your 5th house of love until the 14th of April, you are literally primed to attract potential romantic opportunities. Now, if let's say you are in a relationship, or let's say you don't care about relationships for the time being, it looks like your inspiration is really, really high. It's reaching a period of excitement and a peak for this year. So you'd better channel it. If you have a creative outlet to channel it into, I strongly recommend taking advantage of the first 2 weeks of April, because it does look like you have fabulous ideas. It does look like you are, I think the expression is in flow. So you are literally in flow with life. You're probably also going to be feeling very adventurous, very eager maybe to get together with people, to travel with people, to meet with new people, have fun, go dancing. So I think I've probably said the word fun already 5 times, 5th house. But it's genuinely that kind of energy. And if you have children, then you may feel very proud of them. You may feel, let's say, excited to get involved in all sorts of games with them, go out and play, get involved in sports together. So it's a very active time. Now, from the 7th until the 16th, we also have the Sun conjunct Venus in your 5th house of creativity and children and romantic affairs in a sextile to Jupiter in your 3rd house of communication. Now, between the 7th and the 16th, it does look like, first of all, you're being very persuasive. Secondly, it also looks like you may be hitting the road quite a bit and having to maybe commute once again, having to travel, short distance travel, because the 3rd house is short distance travel, in order to reconnect with people, in order to reconnect with possibly romantic partners or people who you can collaborate with on, let's say, creative projects. So it's another stellar period. Now, from the 4th of April, Mercury also joins the Aries party in your 5th house of creativity, inspiration, fun, and children and romantic love. And it's essentially emphasizing once more the entire creative and enjoyment theme that I have told you quite a bit about. Mercury is also the ruler of your 10th house. So from the 4th until the 19th, you may be feeling much more, let's say, inspired at work as well. You may be having a great deal of new ideas. It may feel like all of a sudden everything, like all of these insights are pouring into your head, and you want to act upon your ideas and you want to get your teeth into new creative projects. And you may be, let's say, running a little bit faster than others, especially on a mental level and on a creative level, a little bit faster than others can keep up with, but that is absolutely no reason to dim your shine and your enthusiasm. It's very likely that it will be appreciated. Now, on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 5th house of love, children, and creativity. It's conjunct Mercury and Venus, and it is sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 3rd house, as well as Mars in Gemini in your 7th house. Okay, so this can be the beautiful beginning of a new romantic chapter for you, either meeting someone new, consolidating a romantic relationship, realizing that you've got feelings for someone. It can also be the beautiful beginning of a new creative project that you're not going to be working on by yourself. So you are working with a partner, no matter whether it is romantically or work-wise. It does look like you are working together with a partner. Now, Mars is the ruler of your 12th house, so it can be that you may have had this partner on your mind quite a lot, and maybe finally now you have the opportunity to collaborate with them either in your romantic life or professionally. You haven't had this much energy and inspiration in your life for probably at least the past 6 months. You are on a roll, Sagittarians. Take advantage of this creative fire that is coursing through your veins, and also enjoy yourselves, because come the second half of April, you're going to have a lot of work to do. You're going to be very, very busy. So if there was a time for you to let off a little bit of steam, well, it's the first half of April, because the second half is going to be very productive, but also work-oriented. From the 14th of April until the 11th of May, we have Venus transiting through Taurus in your 6th house of day-to-day work. This is a really good time to collaborate with coworkers. You may feel like coworkers are a lot more open to listening to your ideas, to working together. It can also feel like you are in a team that makes efforts to make you feel welcome, to make you feel appreciated. You may also be feeling quite privileged to be able to do the work that you do throughout this period. Now, if you're looking for new work-related opportunities, Sagittarians, this is a really good time from the 14th of April until the 6th, until the 11th of May. It's a really good time to interview, because it does look like your tangible, practical skills in the area of work are being appreciated. And from the 19th of April, Mercury and the Sun move into Taurus in your 6th house, emphasizing once more the fact that your focus is shifting towards how you can make yourself of service. It's shifting towards your daily duties and responsibilities. And it's also shifting towards your daily habits, my dear Sagittarians. And you're becoming much more consciously aware of your habits, and possibly until roughly the middle of May, also thinking of making some tweaks to your daily routine. Maybe you're feeling inspired to go back and work out. Maybe you're feeling inspired to try out a new lifestyle, or to add a specific routine to your daily to-do list. Now, on the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, we have Mars moving from the 7th house in Gemini into your 8th house in Cancer. So Mars activating this part of your chart generally can mean a lot of passion behind the scenes. So actually spending a great deal of energy in your intimate life. Your intimate life seems to be experiencing a period of increased focus on your end. You may also be putting a great deal of energy from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June towards taking care of matters connected to the 8th house. So shared resources, loans, mortgages, taxes, inheritances. You may be also offering help in some shape or form to a partner in your life, to a business partner possibly in your life. Mars rules your 5th house and your 12th house. It can be that you are experiencing a period of increased stamina, ambition, drive, and motivation to examine any sort of, let's say, fears connected to 5th house matters, so connected to love and creativity, but also connected to the 12th house, because Mars rules your 12th house as well, which is connected to surrendering and letting go and spirituality. Now, on the 27th of April, we have a full moon happening in Scorpio in your 12th house, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. It is also activating the opposite house, the 6th house, which is the house of health and the house of day-to-day work. And it is in a T-square with Saturn in Aquarius in your 3rd house of communication and siblings, and the Sun conjunct Uranus in, obviously, the 6th house, because the moon is opposite the Sun. Now, this can really bring about some unexpected, because Uranus is involved, piece of news connected to your day-to-day work. I'm going to put it out there. Some of you might really be taken by surprise to see that there is a sudden ending in the area of your day-to-day work. Maybe a coworker is deciding to resign. Maybe you realize that a specific project that you have worked towards, that you have dedicated a great deal of your energy in the past 6 months, because full moons, let's say, mirror themes that we experienced or that we started 6 months ago, and all of a sudden the project is taken off your plate or you can no longer continue it. There is also a possibility at this time that you may reach a point where you say, you know what, I am leaving this job behind because I have had enough and it is no longer in alignment with what I want to do. It is no longer in alignment with my true authentic self. So you may decide to walk away. It does seem to bring a very abrupt ending. I will put it out there. It can also bring about a very challenging communicational conflict with a coworker. And you don't seem to be winning it necessarily. Saturn seems to be squeezing yourself real hard, and compromise is required of you. At the same time, you probably feel like you are, let's say, in the right, so you're not really willing to compromise. It's a bit of a tough one. Now, I would look at the fact that the moon in your 12th house is also trining Mars in Cancer in your 8th house. So I would really tune into your intuition. And because the moon is in the 12th house trining Mars in the 8th house of other people's values, I'd say compromise is probably the best way here. Even if you feel like you are truly right, you don't seem to be winning this battle. It can also be a bit of a moment of physical inflammation in the body, and once again, I would look at possibly an emotional source of this physical inflammation. So it does seem to be mainly a psychosomatic aspect of possibly something that you've been repressing within you, and that seems to be connected with the area of other people's values and intimacy. So something for you to investigate, Sagittarians. Some really good days for you and for everyone in general are the 10th of April when Venus is sextiling Jupiter, the 15th of April when the Sun is sextiling Jupiter, the 17th of April when Mercury is sextiling Jupiter, and some challenging days are the 9th of April when Mars is squaring Neptune, as well as, bear with me, the 25th of April when Mercury is squaring Saturn. So something for you to keep in mind. Now, if you are a Capricorn Sun or a Capricorn Rising, welcome to your April horoscope, Capricorns. So what is this month about for you? Well, the first half of the month seems to be tremendously focused on home-related matters. Your energy is definitely directed towards your home a great deal, spending time with the family, possibly like helping family members in some shape or form. And the second half of the month, well, it is time for you to enjoy yourself, Capricorns, because we're gonna have so much energy concentrated in your 5th house once planets start cruising through the sign of Taurus. So let's kick it all off with probably one of the stellar aspects of the month, the one that I'm very, very excited about. Between the 1st and the 14th of April, obviously with the orb in mind, the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your 4th house is going to be sextiling Mars in Gemini in your 6th house. And from the 7th onwards, Mars is also going to be sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 2nd house. So what's going on? Well, it looks like in the first 2 weeks of the month, a lot of the energy and the effort that you have been putting towards helping family members in some shape or form, or towards possibly refreshing the home environment, maybe renovating it, maybe moving into a new home, maybe buying new furniture, for instance, maybe thinking of, let's say, switching things up, doing a very thorough spring cleaning. It does look like you are energized by the fact that you are working for the home life and the family life. That brings you a great deal of comfort. Now, some of you may have also welcomed a new family member since the beginning of the year, and for those of you who have done so, it looks like you are energized in the first 2 weeks of April by the fact that you are putting your resources into the service of this new family member. You may also be feeling very happy for the fact that you can help a parent in some particular form, maybe using your time, your time resources, but also maybe helping them financially as well. Now, for you, my dear Capricorns, Mars rules your 4th house and your 11th house, so it does look like in the first 2 weeks of the month you are working really hard to set up the private life and the home life environment that is aligned with your authentic self. From the 7th onwards until the 14th, but I would actually give it until the 16th, Mars is also going to be sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 2nd house. This is a fabulous time for you to increase your income, to score new deals, to bring in new clients, to feel like your, let's say, your knowledge and your talents are put to good use in the area of work. Jupiter, for you, my dear Capricorns, rules the 12th house, but also the 3rd house of communication. It can feel like you're collaborating really, really well with the people who you have to work with in the first, especially the first 2 weeks of the month. Why? Because they're doing what you're telling them to do. Because Mars also, my apologies, Jupiter also rules your 3rd house of communication, so you are aligned. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th of April, Mercury is also cruising through Aries in your 4th house of home. Mercury is the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work and your 9th house, so it does look like there's a lot of, let's say, comings and goings, maybe a lot of catching up with family members, a lot of, let's say, mental energy being expensed, I think that's the right word. You gotta forgive me, folks. Sometimes I make words up. That's what I do. My Mars is in Gemini, so if I say them really loud and like really confidently, you're probably going to wonder, is that the right way to say it? So yeah, no, even if I do say things like really confidently at times, it doesn't mean that I know exactly what I'm saying. From the 4th of April until the 19th of April, you're also going to have Mercury the Messenger going through your 4th house of home. This can also really bring positive news connected to family members, connected to your home life. The only thing that might be, let's say, missing a little bit in the first 2 weeks of April is the fact that you don't seem to have time to catch your breath. You are truly, truly, truly very busy, Capricorn. So that's why you're probably going to appreciate the 2nd half of the month much more than the first half. On the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 4th house, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, conjunct Mercury and Venus, sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 2nd house of values and income, and Mars in Gemini in your 6th house. Now, for a lot of Capricorns, this is going to mean officially moving into a new home, maybe buying a new home because the 2nd house is involved, putting your resources into a new home environment, feeling like you are finally reaping the rewards of your efforts in the sphere of family and residence related matters. A lot of you might be investing in additional real estate assets at this time. It's also fantastic news that you seem to be getting at this time because with the new moon conjunct Mercury and Venus, I'm like, yeah, this is good news. No matter how we go about it, it's good news. You could be getting good news in regards to the health of a family member, maybe that you were a little bit worried about. Now, from the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus Good old Venus. We love a good dose of Venus. Is entering Taurus in your 5th house of joy, of pleasure, of fun, of entertainment, of creativity, and also of children and romance. So this is romantic prime time from the 14th of April until the 11th of May. Please take note, both single Capricorns as well as coupled up Capricorns. It is probably one of the most romantic times of the year. If you are single, it is a great time to go out on dates, to mingle. If you are in a romantic partnership, it's a great time to maybe save a few days for you and your partner only to do something that is going to bring you closer together. And I would recommend doing something that involves the physical senses, something very sensual. I don't know, like go out for dinner, maybe book a nice kind of like a weekend away if you can, wherever you are based in the world, depending on how the pandemic is going in your corner of the world. Now, from the 19th of April, Mercury and the Sun join Taurus in your 5th house, join the Taurus party in your 5th house of fun, of creativity, and also of enjoyment. It can feel like your mental energy is also switching towards romantic matters, but also children-related matters, as well as creative matters and topics. And this is a huge focus for you Capricorns until at least the middle of next month, the middle of May. Now, on the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Mars is entering Cancer in your 7th house. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so what's going on here? Well, Mars energizes everything that it touches. It increases our stamina. It increases our drive, our ambition. It also likes to rile things up. So for those of you who are in a partnership, there is a possibility that you may feel like your partner is let's say much more passionate than usual. So this obviously is fantastic news for your sex life. It can also feel as if your partner is a lot touchier and maybe even a little bit moodier than usual, and maybe faster to take offense. And speaking of taking offense, when Mars is transiting our 7th house, no matter what sign you are, there is a possibility that others might feel attacked about the way you approach them. So tread carefully. Make sure that you choose your words carefully. If you have others lashing out at you all of a sudden, remember, it's not personal, it's not you. It's a temporary type of energy. What it does ask you, Mars in Cancer in your 7th house, is when asserting yourself and when maybe directing others and when going for what you want and what you expect from other people, really take into account their emotional needs. Because if you don't, then they're probably going to make you regret it, Capricorns. Now, on the 27th of April, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your 11th house. And this is in a T-square, actually. Tense aspect, very tense aspect. The full moon is a culmination. Look at the 3 days before, 3 days after, the 27th of April. The T-square is happening between, obviously, the moon in the 11th house of long-term plans, goals, dreams, and friends. Saturn in Aquarius in your 2nd house of income and of values, and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 5th house. Now, this can result in a very strong face-off. It's like open conflict, crisis, between you and a romantic partner related to deferring values that you have, or related possibly to what you do with your money in general. Not just you, but also what your partner does with their money. So it can be a bit of a face-off, a bit of a conflict, a bit of a disagreement in regards to how you spend your money, or how you spend money in general. Also what you consider valuable. So it is, let's say, an open conflict regarding deferring values. Now, the moon in your 11th house is in a beautiful aspect to Mars in Cancer in your 7th house. What does that mean? Well, it looks like, by the looks of it, let me just check the degrees real quick of the full moon. It looks like this time, it could be a great idea to possibly, shall I say it? I'm going to say it. To possibly compromise. Or possibly try to meet the other person halfway. Why? Because I'm imagining the person who you're having a face-off with, or the group of people that you're having a face-off with, they are forming actually a very important part of your plans for the future. They actually seem to be essential for your plans for the future, and taking a very compassionate approach to the message that they're sending across, even if you're not in agreement with them, might work wonders for the long run. Now, if you're thinking, you know what, I don't need these folks in my life to accomplish this a long-term objective of mine, I actually want out of this group of people, then by all means, go away, say goodbye, shut that door, Capricorn. You know better than I do what you want to get out of them, or out of their relationship. Sorry, that sounded so bad. You know what I'm trying to say, Capricorns. Now, some really good days are the 10th of April when Venus is sextiling Jupiter exactly, the 15th of April when the Sun is sextiling Jupiter exactly. This is, the 15th is actually such a stellar day for home-related matters and family-related matters. Really good news related to home and family. The 17th of April, I also really like when Mercury is sextiling Jupiter. I don't like that much the 9th of April when Mars in Gemini is squaring Neptune. Let me see. Yes, Mars in Gemini is squaring Neptune. Well, this is a very, let's call it, fuzzy time, especially when it comes to getting aligned in terms of a long-term objective with coworkers. So be very careful and make sure that you've triple clarified with them that they have actually understood your message, Capricorns. Better safe than sorry. My Aquarius brothers and sisters. I don't know why I'm looking around for you. So for those of you who are here for the very first time, I am an Aquarius sun, and I know I brag about it in every single one of my videos. Yes. So what is going on for us in April? Well, we are going to absolutely enjoy the first half of April. I can tell you that because the very strong Aries energy is going to be sextiling all of our Aquarius placements. And in the second half of the month is when things start getting serious, when we feel called to maybe spend more time at home, spend more time with our family, maybe do some work around the house, maybe help our family members, maybe make a move home-wise. So let me start with the very, very beginning. Now, in the first 2 weeks of April, the Sun conjunct Venus in Aries, in our third house, is going to be sextiling Mars in Gemini, in our fifth house. So the first 2 weeks of April, Aquarians, gather around. You are, let's say, on fire intellectually. You are having a blast intellectually. You are probably feeling like you are learning a great deal of new things. You are feeling compelled to connect with people, to meet with people, to network. This is also a fantastic time if you are in any sort of a sales related industry, or if you work in sales, if you work in the commerce space. Well, it looks like this is probably going to be one of the most lucrative times of the year. It does look like your sales are going through the roof. If you need to bring on board new clients, you can also be much more persuasive than normal. It can also feel like you are becoming very aligned from an intellectual perspective, and that you are communicating very well with a romantic partner with that Mars in Gemini in your fifth house. Now, because the third house is also connected with getting together with people, and the fifth house is fun and enjoyment, you may be having a lot of communications and a lot of exchanges, be it in person, be it online, about getting together with people to have fun, to celebrate, to live life to the fullest. It's a very, very, let's say, helpful energy also in romantic matters. I mean, helpful is probably such a dry word because I would call this flirtation at its absolute best. Very racy text messages also. Now, for those of you who are single, because I know there's single Aquarians out there. I see you single Aquarians. It's a great time to connect with people via digital means. So via dating apps, via the internet. And to first make sure that you have things to talk about, that whoever it is that you want to go out with a date, first and foremost, ensure that they are a worthy intellectual partner for you, Aquarians. So that seems to be the big focus for you in the first I know, so much fun in the first half of the month. You may also be on the road quite a lot with Sun conjunct Venus in Aries in your third house. I mean, the conjunction is obviously within orb, but there can be a lot of comings and goings, a lot of short distance trips for pleasure, for leisure, for business purposes as well. But ultimately, you're enjoying being back on the road. You're enjoying reconnecting with people, Aquarians. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th, Mercury is also moving through Aries in your third house. Literally, your inbox is going to be on fire with Mercury transiting through this part of your chart. And from the 4th until the 19th of April, you may also be feeling hungry for new information, hungry for connecting with people, for interacting with people, for bringing in new ideas into your, let's say, daily focus. Now, for you Aquarians, Mercury rules your 5th house and your 8th house of intimacy. Well, these are both connected with partnership in some sense, or with romance in some sense, Aquarians. So there can be a lot of talks with potential romantic partners, with existing romantic partners. In any case, you are absolutely having a blast. That's the gist of it. Now, on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your third house, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. Conjunct Mercury and Venus, sextiling Jupiter and Aquarius in your first house, and Mars and Gemini in your 5th house. So, to me, this has the let's say the flavor of kicking off a new learning cycle for at least the next 6 months. When it comes to a topic that you're very passionate about, Mars and Gemini in your 5th house, a creative topic, or maybe literally deciding to go take a course about something that you simply enjoy doing and spending time doing in your private life. So let's say you're very drawn to astrology, Aquarians. Oh my gosh, an Aquarius into astrology. Oh no. Like I would have never imagined someone like that. Obviously, so you're gonna feel drawn. You're gonna feel drawn to learn more about a topic that you are truly passionate about, that you feel like it's truly in alignment with your authentic self. You may also feel inclined to kick off a cycle, a new chapter where you are selling, where you are bringing to other people's attention or selling your creative, let's say, productions or products. So if you are producing anything creative in this lifetime, my dear Aquarius, then you might feel inclined to sell these or to start selling them from the 12th onwards. It's also a fantastic time to, let's say, turn a new leaf in the area of transportation. I was about to say, in the area of transportation. So essentially you could buy a new car around the 12th of April. Why am I trying to find abstract words to convey such a simple message? I'm really trying to impress you, Aquarius, here, in case you haven't noticed yet. So it can also mean, by the way, for those of you who have siblings, that you might be getting some really good news connected to the life of a sibling, very likely connected to their education around this time. So I'm loving this new moon. You're going to love it too. Keep me posted as to how it's going. Now, from the 14th of April, Venus is going to be moving into Taurus in your 4th house until the 11th of May. This is great for a few very Venusian types of activities, my dear Aquarians. So you may feel inclined to spend more time at home between the 14th of April and the 11th of May, or to travel back home, to go back home if you are away from home, because Venus also rules your 9th house of long distance travel. So you may be making plans to travel home, you may be making plans to catch up with family. It's also a really beautiful time to bond with family members, and since Venus is the planet of beauty and aesthetics, to beautify your home. So to buy nice things for the home, to buy arts, to invest in arts, to really spruce up your living space, to make you feel joy and pleasure when you look at it or when you spend time at home. Now, from the 19th of April, Mercury and the Sun also move into Taurus in your 4th house, essentially joining the home party, the family party. There's going to be a lot of, let's say, mental energy that you also direct when it comes to communicating with family members, catching up with family members, maybe calling them, maybe getting back together with them, meeting them in person if you haven't seen them for a really, really long time. And you also seem to be bringing your partner with you, because your 7th house is ruled by the Sun, and the Sun is also placed in the 4th house. So you could be doing all of this with a partner, or you could be going to meet a partner's family and spend some time with them. Now, from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Mars is going to move through Cancer in your 6th house of work and health. Okay, this is prime time for getting busy at work. I know you would rather spend time at home with your family and connecting with your family, but it does look like you're going to be super busy at work. And you probably are going to be doing some working from home or working together with family members towards a common goal, towards a common project with Mars in this part of your chart. Now, Mars for you Aquarians rules the 3rd house and the 6th house. It does look like the work that you are doing between the 23rd of April and the 11th of June is very let's say, visible. So it's noticed by people in positions of leadership, by bosses. So take your time. Don't rush into things. Don't get annoyed with coworkers because they are slower than you are, because there is an actual, let's say, danger with Mars to get upset with other people who can't keep up with you. Mars likes to work by itself, so the best way to use the Martian energy between the 23rd of April and the 11th of June is to really find a project that you can dedicate yourself to and maybe work towards it on your own. Now, Mars in the 6th house of health, because the 6th house is also connected to health, can increase your level of energy, so you may feel inclined to work out more, but it can also bring increased inflammation in the body. So if you know that you are suffering of anything health-wise, I would get it checked before the 23rd of April so that you don't get to the 23rd of April and you say, oh no, oh why, oh look, I have a fever. Why didn't I treat this earlier? So consider yourselves warned, Aquarians. Now, on the 27th of April, the full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 10th house. This is in a T-square with Saturn and Aquarius in your 1st house. I'm like, oh my gosh, full moon in Scorpio. It's happening at the same time whilst it's forming a T-square with Saturn in your 1st house and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 4th house of home and family life. So this is a closure, an ending, and a culmination, and it can be quite sudden. I'll give you that. A quite sudden closure in the area of career, in the area of public status and public reputation, that also seems to affect your home and family life. It could be that you decide to walk away from a specific work-related position because you want to spend more time with the family. It could also be, I'll put it out there, that you may feel very unappreciated at this time by a boss, and you might feel restricted, you might feel constrained, you might feel very frustrated with that Saturn and Aquarius in your 1st house. It's like, why are you in charge and I'm not in charge? So it can feel almost like your freedom is a little bit curtailed, or it could feel like something that you've worked really hard towards is somehow taken away from you, or you're not being given enough credit for it, and it's really really annoying the heck out of you. So some of you might be tempted to say, you know what, here's my resignation, bye. I also want to say that at this time, because the 4th house, 10th house axis is also the axis of parenthood and parents, there could be some sort of like sudden development in your parents' lives that requires you to put everything on hold, career or not, and to go and spend time with them and help them and put yourself into their service in some shape or form. Now, the moon in Scorpio is trining Mars in Cancer in your 6th house of work and also the house of health. So no matter whether this crisis or culmination or ending or closure is connected to your health or to a parent's health, or it could be an inflammation in your, let's say, in the life of parents health-wise, or it could be a sudden ending in the area of career, you seem to already have, I'm gonna say, an ace up your sleeve, and you seem to have something lined up. So you're prepared for what's to come, even if initially the crisis might hit you in the face and you might say, oh God, I thought I was over this, or why are my merits not being acknowledged and recognized? This could be the final straw for some of you to give you that push to start off your own thing, or to go on a different path career-wise, to kick off your own business, to become more autonomous, to become maybe like contractors or freelancers. I want to put it on your radar, Aquarians. Now, a few really good days in April are the 10th of April, when Venus is sextiling Jupiter, the 15th of April, when the Sun is sextiling Jupiter exactly, and the 17th, when Mercury is sextiling Jupiter. And a really quite challenging day, I'm gonna say, is the 9th of April, when Mars is squaring Neptune. Now, Mars at this time, let's see where it's going to be. Let's see, in your 5th house, and it's going to be in a tense aspect to Neptune in your 2nd house of income. On the 9th of April, you may feel inclined to splurge more than you have, and to spend more than you have, and to, to really overextend yourself financially. So, don't, maybe. Or there could be a feeling of being kind of like double-crossed a little bit, because Neptune is fog and confusion, and Mars makes us angry. So you could be feeling a little bit double-crossed in terms of finances, or in terms of what you expected to receive as payment, and you're not getting the full amount. Now, if you are a Pisces suns, and Pisces risings, thank you for sticking around. And also, if you just jump straight to your part, I also appreciate that. Timestamps are always in the description box, so it's okay. Pisces, what's going on for you in April? The first half of April, I'm gonna give you this. You are hustling like no one's business. You are literally bringing home the bacon and the cash, and okay, maybe you're not bringing home the bacon because maybe you're vegan, but you are definitely ramping up those efforts when it comes to increasing your income. And the second half of the month, is very focused on communication, getting back together with people, being on the move, being on the road, maybe learning, maybe doing a little bit of studying, maybe catching up with siblings. We've got that lined up for you. So the first 2 weeks of April have a stellar aspect in the sky, obviously within orb, so it's not going to be exact throughout the entire period. But I would say the signature of the first 2 weeks are the fact that the Sun conjunct Aries in your 2nd house of income is going to be sextiling Mars in Gemini in your 4th house. So what's going on here? Well, it does look like you are literally pouring, when it rains, it pours. You are literally pouring your money towards your home, towards probably maybe buying new things for the home, maybe helping family members with money. It's literally the energy of feeling like you're hustling. I'm gonna stick with hustling, pays off in terms of the results that you are seeing at home, and in terms of building a home that you are really proud of, and a home life that you are super proud of, to put it this way. Now, Venus is the ruler of your 3rd house and your 8th house. So, in conjunction with the Sun that rules your 6th house of work, it looks like you're not working by yourself. You are probably working with a partner. You are spending resources that you have pooled together towards creating this home environment that really feels good for you and really makes you feel like you are accomplishing your objectives in this part of your life. You can also be working and having like a very productive streak in the first 2 weeks with a family member together, and you could also be feeling very proud of yourself for how productive you are whilst working from home. Now, from the 7th of April until the 16th, we are also going to have a really, really nice aspect from Jupiter in Aquarius in your 12th house to Mars in Gemini in your 4th house. Well, it's actually the other way around. Mars is going to be in a nice aspect to Jupiter because it's the faster moving planet that makes the aspect. You seem to be doing a bit of healing, of emotional healing, and maybe burying the hatchet possibly with a family member at this time. How? By communicating, by opening up about old wounds, by forgiving and leaving behind some painful memories that maybe you tried to suppress, or some painful emotional, let's say, remnants of your past, my dear Pisces. Now, from the 4th of April until the 19th of April, Mercury is also going to be transiting through Aries in your 2nd house. Literally, your mind, because Mercury rules the mind, is also going to be on the money. How can you increase your money? How can you increase your income? How can you make the most of your inner resources and talents and skills? That seems to be what's going on in your head at the time. Now, Mercury also rules your 7th house, so it's actually a really good idea between the 4th and the 19th to ask for feedback from others, from business partners, from life partners, from people that you collaborate with, to ask for feedback in terms of what makes you very valuable, because you might be very surprised to see that others see talents in you that you are not necessarily very aware of or conscious of, or that you don't necessarily give yourself credit for enough. Now, on the 12th of April, we have a new moon in Aries in your 2nd house, conjunct Mercury and Venus, sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 12th house, and in a beautiful aspect also to Mars in Gemini in your 4th house. Now, I like this. Why? Because, first of all, you seem to be kicking off a very nicely aspected financial chapter. You could be making more money. You could be bringing in a new source of income into your life at this time. You are also initiating around the 12th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, a period of increased self-worth and confidence in what you have accomplished so far, and also it's giving you energy for how much more you can accomplish in terms of family life, in terms of home life, and also in terms of overcoming past fears connected to your worth and connected to your self-esteem. So you are reaching a point of, let's say, awareness, of increased awareness of how valuable and worthy you are around the 12th of April, my dear Pisces. And you could also be receiving very external confirmation at the same time, such as, for instance, as I've mentioned, bringing in a new source of income in your life, maybe signing a very important contract, a very lucrative deal with a new client. So these are all very, very strong possibilities. You could also be scoring a raise at this time and finally be getting kind of like the increased salary that you deserve, Pisces. Now, from the 14th of April until the 11th of May, Venus, planet of joy, pleasure, and beauty and aesthetics, is transiting Taurus in your 3rd house. What does this mean? Essentially, you are becoming a lot more soft-spoken You're generally quite soft-spoken, but now you're becoming even more soft-spoken and let's say very liked in your social interactions. You're becoming the peacemaker in daily interactions. You are also becoming the social glue between the 14th of April and the 11th of May, bringing people together, connecting with people. You're feeling appreciated and welcome in your community, in your neighborhood, in your circle of colleagues, let's say. And also short distance travel is quite nicely aspected throughout this entire period for pleasure in general, if you can, and with a partner if you can. I would, however, if possible, avoid the full moon, the time of the full moon in Scorpio around the 27th of April, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, because we have some challenging aspects in the sky at that time. But other than that, going for a road trip, for instance, is probably something that you're going to find very enjoyable, my dear Pisces, between the 14th of April and the 11th of May. Now, from the 19th of April, Mercury and the Sun also move into Taurus in your third house. It does look like you are, let's say, very socially engaged. It's a very socially engaging time. A lot of short distance trips, a lot of meeting with people, a lot of talking on the phone, maybe selling a lot more. By the way, from the 14th of April until the 11th of May, if you work in sales, it does look like you have the ability to increase your sales tremendously. And you also communicate very eloquently. I will put it out there. Now, from the 23rd of April until the 11th of June, Mars is moving into Cancer and transiting your 5th house. Now, I love this this transit, even though necessarily Mars doesn't really feel that good in Cancer, because Cancer has the moon as its ruler, and it's very emotional, and it can get maybe, let's say, quite emotionally frustrated at times, and maybe quite moody, quite teary. I mean, not that there is anything bad about it, but it's just that Mars doesn't really like that sort of energy. Saying that, this is a bit of an exception with Mars transiting Cancer in the 5th house. So until the 11th of June, from the 23rd of April, Pisces, you might be feeling very, let's say, inspired creatively. You might be putting a lot of energy into creative projects and with monetization in mind, because Mars for you, my dear Pisces, rules your 2nd house. So it's a fantastic period to direct your energy. And by the way, working independently is actually much more favored during Mars transits. Direct your energy towards a creative project that is really close to your heart, and you cannot go wrong. Another thing that I would like to flag is this is a really good energy for things to get really steamy and really passionate with romantic partners. And also, because Mars is the planet of initiative, if you're single and if you want to be with someone, well, guess what? Someone, and in this case, you should probably take the initiative and see what happens, because Mars increases your chances of connecting with someone. Now, on the 27th of April, we have a full moon in Scorpio in your 9th house. The 9th house is associated with long distance travel, higher education, and the higher mind. It is in a T-square with Saturn in Aquarius in your 12th house of all things hidden, of the shadow, and the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 3rd house of siblings and of short distance travel and of the intellectual, logical mind. Now, this can result in disrupted travel, Pisces. I'm going to put it out there. So maybe you had made a plan to travel around this time. You might travel regardless, but there can be unexpected obstacles, challenges, delays. With that Sun conjunct Uranus in the 3rd house, I would take plenty of time before you leave the house. I would literally, like, maybe walk... Maybe I was about to say walk out of the door, I don't know, like 5 hours before your plane takes off. Because there can be, let's say, accidents on the road that cause delays. It doesn't have to be your fault, but it's something that is really frustrating, and it doesn't seem to be something that you could have prevented. But consider yourselves warned, and really give yourself enough time if you need to get somewhere. Now, if you are on the road yourself, very careful. Literally pay a great deal of attention, especially if you're in a car. Pay a great deal of attention to what's happening around you, because once again, it might not be your fault, but you may find yourself in the middle of, like, I don't know, like people not driving very carefully and things happening on the motorway. And it doesn't matter whose fault it is. It just means disruption. It's also a time when, let's say, your car could break down. So there is a possibility there. Now, because the full moon brings a culmination, it does seem to be a very sudden culmination, a very sudden closure, possibly also connected with higher education. So maybe you are finalizing a course, or maybe you're handing in a paper or an exam, but you're not necessarily feeling, let's say, very confident about how things have turned out. What I can tell you though is that the moon in Scorpio in the 9th house is in a beautiful aspect to Mars in Cancer in your 5th house of love and joy and your authentic self. So no matter the result of the exam, you know instinctively that this is pushing you closer towards doing what you really love and doing what is close to your heart. This is also a time when you may hear news, quite sudden news, connected to legal matters, connected to travel matters, legal matters, let's say, I don't know, immigration papers, for instance. Maybe you've applied for a new passport, or like maybe you've applied for a green card, a visa, citizenship. There can be frustrations and delays, so you know about them. Don't worry, it's almost as if the universe is giving you extra time to get all your ducks in a row. Now, some of the best days in April are the 10th of April, when Venus is sextiling Jupiter, the 15th when the Sun is sextiling Jupiter, and the 17th when Mercury is sextiling Jupiter. And in terms of challenging day, I really don't, I'm not crazy for the 9th of April in particular, when Mars is squaring Neptune. So really take it easy on this day. And also, I gotta tell you, this can be a time when you have maybe what seems like a very frustrating fight with a family member out of the blue for no particular reason. So thank you for tuning in once again, folks, and for watching or for listening to your April horoscope.